that to the RLC with a letter from Tommy saying, hey, I want to close this. I understand it's a danger. We will not go anywhere near it. And the day I close is the earliest I can have this company come out and remove this. And not only is it going to be safe and secure, it's going to help the environment, and I'm going to make money off of it. It'll be, it's like, check.
That's great. That's great. All right, I want to touch on something because we don't have much time left. We got about I'd say 12 minutes left, and I want to touch on something important. What can you use the VA loan to purchase? And so I bring this up because, you know, people instantly think, a lot of people think VA loan, single family house, but there's so much more than that. Can you guys touch on that a little bit?
Sure. So you can buy up to, so depending, going back to the first earlier question you asked is who can be on the loan. If you've got 2 vets on the loan, you could actually buy a 5-unit with a commercial attached to it. Now, I don't know of any investors that'll do that, but technically you could buy a 5-unit plus a commercial space on a VA loan. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not. There's certain requirements. You can't use the commercial space in the appraisal, that kind of stuff, but you technically could. So it's very common to buy duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes with 1 veteran on it. So if it's a single veteran, up to 4 plus a commercial space.
So I read something the other day. What about farms?
VA doesn't care. You may have investor overlays. You may have difficulties getting comparable properties that have sold in the last 12 months with similar size, similar structure.
And so what I read, keep in mind, like, go ahead. Oh, you just have to keep in mind, like, it's going to be very housing specific, right? So when you're looking at farm situations, and I totally want to move to a farm, I want to get the heck out of Arizona at some point, but I got kids still, so yeah. But when I look at that transition, I'm going, man, could I buy like in Alabama in the middle, or maybe South Carolina, because apparently South Carolina is freaking amazing. So I might be heading your guys' way, Jesse and Jason. So sorry about that, but I might be going that route. When you look at that, it's very structured focus, right? Housing. So if you're looking at a farm situation, you're not going to count like income from animals and those things. It's very specific on that. Comparables, like what Jason said, is that comparables in the area, rural, how does it work? Those types of things. You got septic, well, road agreements, those type of other items that come up. But can it be done? Absolutely.
Yeah, see, and I love that because I think people intentionally put limitations without doing the research, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, people just, VA loan through rumor, but they don't go do the research. And,
so that's why we're in the situation now. We're having to have this discussion. And the question got asked, how do we win with a VA loan in this market? There's one education at a time, right? There's so many loan officers out there that do VA loans that aren't good at it. If you go look at Veterans United, last year they closed 88,000 loans. So that's probably 80,000 bad experiences that realtors have, that we have to go overcome those 80,000 bad experiences by educating them with loan officers that know their stuff and realtors that are going to be advocates, just like we're advocates, and empowering the veterans in order to.
All right, so that's huge. So I want to go round robin on this. We'll start with Jen, work our way back to Leroy, and even Jesse jump in on this. But how do we win in this market, this current market? What are maybe just 1 or 2 tips that you give to the real estate professionals out there to win in this market with VA loan?
Well, understand. I'm going to talk here because I used to be a realtor. I'm going to talk a little bit in that aspect. You know, I understand what is happening with that one property, what the listing agent is looking for. Communicate with that person. You know, that would be a big deal. But know the program. Know that with the VA loan, you know, we've already spoken about the appraisals and the options we have to be able to increase the appraisal. Should there be additional value to be added to that property? Understand that it's a guaranteed loan as well. That just because they're coming in with 0 down, it doesn't mean that they cannot afford to purchase that property. That now they just have more cash in their pocket.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to mention the mortgage insurance aspect of things. I think a lot of people want to buy a conventional, purchase a property with a conventional loan with 5, 10, 15% down, but they have mortgage insurance, so their monthly payment is a little higher, their interest rate is a little higher as well, and their debt to income ratio is more strict. So now you're comparing a more flexible guaranteed loan to one that is more than likely to fall apart if something goes wrong. So that would be, just understand the program that you're dealing with, and your customer.
Huge. Appreciate that. Leroy, how about you? A couple tips you give to our agents out there.
One, God, I love that question. And as a freaking loan officer, right, I'm like, good God, right? Because we're like pounding the phones, trying to talk to agents. I mean, that's the reality, because we have this cycle of refinancing. And so, from teaching aspect is like, one, if your loan officer is not engaged and calling the listing agent, texting them, sending them video, right? Simple. Hey, this is Jesse. He's qualified for a VA loan. Absolutely phenomenal deal. We can close this transaction in 21 days. Not a problem. VA states 7-day turn time on appraisals in Arizona. So there's no questions. Give me a call. So that should be key. For agents that are on here, if your loan officer is not engaged in calling the listing agent, texting, communicating via like video,
huge.
Get a new loan officer, or set the expectation of freaking engagement, right? So we got to do this. We got to win, because VA is the most powerful freaking loan that's out there. So, the other thing I would say is probably just like education, right? Because every single real estate agent, and I love this idea, and this is a Ben Kenny deal, right? Ben Kenny's like the freaking Yoda of real estate. So he says every single agent starts with one transaction, one. So you can go from 1 to 600 transactions, right? So, but everybody starts with 1. So just be humble enough to be able to educate for loan officers and real estate agents that are coming on. If you know this lane and you understand the VA loan guidelines from your loan officer, which should be educating you on the power of the Tidewater, the ROV, 100% financing, right? So then they have the appraisal gap situation, which 25% of veterans actually come in with a down payment, and that's per Jenny May. Like Jen was saying, it's the most powerful loan in the process. 0.5% lower in interest rate. It's amazing.
So I used to be a nuclear engineer in my past career. So I'm bullets, straight point kind of stuff. So whenever I get that question, I go over. I won't beat the dead horse here. The appraisal, the underwriting is more flexible. The biggest thing that's a surprise, and I bet you I'm going to surprise 80% of the people watching this, is a VA has half the underwriters that a conventional loan has. So you probably don't realize this, but PMI is from a separate company. So you have lender X that's underwriting the loan and letting on the loan. And then once that lender is happy, everything's done, we're quote unquote clear to close, that gets sent to the PMI company. And that's a whole nother company. That's a whole nother underwriter. That's a whole nother underwriting manager. So now that loan is going to get reviewed again by a whole nother set of eyes. VA doesn't have that. So you have half the risk of getting a bad underwriter.
Huge, man. Jason, I appreciate that. Jesse, a couple tips out to the agents out there on how to best use or present a VA loan in today's market.
So obviously everything that's been said here is super important. But the number one thing that I would say to take away from this is never assume that the agent on the other side of that deal understands what a VA loan is or what that process looks like. Yeah. It is our job to, one, educate ourselves, but to then pass that information on. Make yourself a cheat sheet. Make the phone call before you put in the offer. I do it every single time. I call and say, hey, listen, I'm about to send you over an offer. This is what it's going to say, and this is why it is a powerful offer. And just to give you a heads up to make your life a lot easier, my lender is going to give you a call in about 30 minutes to explain this even more in depth. And if you have any more questions, blow him up because he's really good. And that is what's like, I have that confidence. Now, I will say this. I've also worked with, Leroy and Jason, and Jason's one of my preferred lenders. Like, it's in South Carolina, it's going in his direction. So, and I know with him and his team that they're going to get that phone call, and he's going to reiterate all of those PowerPoints to that listing agent. So we're not selling a house. So we're working for the buyer. We're selling the VA loan to the listing agent and trying to get them excited so that they're going to sell it to their client and show them how powerful it is. It's like, this is a benefit to your client that I'm presenting a VA loan to you. And this is why. And that's the attitude that you have to present with it. Has to be, I have the strongest offer. Sometimes I've had VA offers get accepted when other offers are for more money, not like a significant amount of money, but it's a close, and we've won out because I'm able to sell that loan and that client. And, I just basically make that listing agent understand that it's the best case scenario for not only their client, but it's also going to make the listing agent's job a whole lot easier because this loan is going to close and they're not going to have to go through this process more than once.
That's huge, man.
I want to say one more thing. If you guys as agents, you're looking at the property at the MLS and it says only conventional or FHA, understand that if the property is a lot and block and it's in good condition, then it is more than likely that the VA financing could take place. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big one on the realtor side because a lot of realtors don't know the VA, so they won't check off the box that says we'll accept VA loans on this.
Yeah, and the only reason why I say this is because I feel like a lot of realtors limit themselves on what properties to show their customer because they're looking at what another realtor inputted on the accepted terms. Yep. So I think that's really important. And just because a property has termites doesn't mean we can't get through the process as well. We can also treat the property for termites and then get that cleared and move forward.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Good point.
Well, I'm gonna finish off with a couple of tips on me. And honestly, guys, if you're watching this right now and you're realizing a theme, right, on all the advice that you're receiving from all the great people on this panel. Number one is communication. I completely agree with Leroy, man. Communicate with the client, communicate with the listing agent, communicate, man, at a very high level, whether that means you're sending emails, text messages, video messages. I mean, I when Leroy said that, I just smiled from ear to ear because I send videos to everybody, and second thing is tie your lender in on the presentation of the email, right? Of the offer, right? So when you write that email, you say, hey, and my lender is following information is copied in on this email. If you have any questions on anything that we're talking about or the discussion we had on the phone or whatever the case is, tie your lender in on that so that your lender can be in cahoots. Gives them an opportunity to send a quick reply and maybe call them later on, right? But it gives them an opportunity, your lender, to give a quick reply and say, hey, I'm looking forward to working with you. Yes, Leroy is completely 100%, ready to go, and I'm ready to, take off with you guys whatever lenders say, right? Number 3, educate yourself, educate others, more importantly, right? So, study this, man. Go online, read, go to verified websites, read, understand the process of the VA loan. Just go to Google and go veteran VA loan myths debunked or whatever. Google that, and so many articles will come up because this is a consistent and constant issue. Right. And so all these articles are going to come up and they're just going to talk about all these great things that people are out there or these horrible things that people are out there saying, and a lot of great advice it's going to give you. And that gives you the power, the knowledge, and the education necessary to educate the listing agent. And everyone on this panel has said it. When you get on the phone with the listing agent, explain to them, educate them, tell them how strong the loan is. Because if you're not doing that, then we're just going to continue this horrible trend of not getting veterans accepted and approved. Guys, thanks so much for being on this panel with us. I just got the message that it's time to wrap up. Thanks for doing this with us. Hey, listen, super huge, man. This is so big. We've got another panel coming up later with, how to build wealth using the VA loan. And, when we talked about what types of properties you could buy in duplexes and all that stuff. And, it's just amazing stuff that we're giving to people. And thank you for taking an hour out of your day to give back to the community. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.